Hello! Today I am going to be talking about the Melt the Ice hat. This is mine that I'm working on. I just cast it on this morning and I've been working on it. It is Sunday, January 25th. You can see I'm doing my ribbing. I hate ribbing, but I'm doing it. The Melt the Ice hat is a hat pattern that was released by Yarn Cult MN. And the proceeds, like 100% of the proceeds, are going to immigrant aid agencies who will distribute the funds to those impacted by the actions of ICE. So you can go on Ravelry, you can get it for $5. And I just kind of want to talk about the significance of this. And I also just want to talk about what it's like to be a Minnesotan right now. So I live in northern Minnesota. I do not live in the Twin Cities area. I am from the Twin Cities area. Like in the metro area, so technically a suburb, but very close to the area. My family is there, my friends are there. Like I know a ton of people who are very affected by this, and some of my family members, they do live like in Minneapolis and around the neighborhood of like where Renee Good lived and that kind of stuff. And I don't know if people understand what it's like being in the Twin Cities right now, or just being in Minnesota. Basically, if you live in the Twin Cities, or if you have lived in the Twin Cities, you either know somebody, or you know somebody who has like a family member, or know somebody who has a friend who has probably been like arrested, detained, targeted, you know, something like that. You know, personally, I know I have friends who their families are frightened to leave their homes, not because they're not U.S. citizens, they're U.S. citizens, but they're not white. It really affects everybody, and it is definitely an occupation. I think where I'm at in northern Minnesota, I'm a little bit separated from it. The stuff we've got going on up here is very minimal compared to what it's like in the Twin Cities. It is constant. It is not hard to find ice going around. They are everywhere. Up here, it is definitely pretty sparse. It happens. We do have a community that is doing everything we can to protect our neighbors and try to keep our community safe, but it's just a whole different thing in the Twin Cities. That being said, to talk about the red hat, you know, the whole thing is that in the 1940s, this is like I'm reading off of the Ravelry design, Norwegians made and wore red pointed hats with a tassel as a form of visual protest against Nazi occupation of their country. Within 2 years, the Nazis made these protest hats illegal and punishable by law to wear, make, or distribute. And I was so curious about that. Whenever I was doing a little Google search and saying, like, what is the history of this? I really wasn't coming up with anything besides this definition that is in this Ravelry design. And so I did a little bit of digging, and I did want to share a little bit more about the history of that. I actually found it on YouTube is kind of where I pieced this together. So this guy appears to be in Norway or be Norwegian, and his account, I'm going to put like a little screenshot so you can go look at this video. It's I think 2 or 3 years old right now, but it's by Red Hat Factory, and they make beanies. The video is titled "Why Nazis Outlawed Red Beanies in Norway," and it gives a little bit of a better explanation about the history of it and how it kind of originated from like a Santa Claus mythical creature that was in like barns and stuff and could bring, you know, luck or bad luck, and they had hats, and then you know, it kind of transformed into this protest. And it was kind of interesting because he mentioned that there's a photo at the like a Museum of Resistance in Oslo. So it's called Norway's Resistance Museum, and it is in Oslo, Norway. When I was like searching up red pointed hats, protest hats, Norway, I was like not coming up with really anything except for like one image. When I searched for Norway's Resistance Museum, red hat, I finally got a few more images, and you know, they're all pretty similar, but it kind of shows a couple different things, and you can kind of see just a little bit more. The actual hat design that is out by Yarn Cult MN, I think that's what it's called, is actually slightly different looking than the ones in the museum, which is fine because the ones in the museum are pretty plain. So I do actually do like the new design by like the yarn MN called. It is slightly different, but I totally see the resemblance. So I just wanted to give a better background of that if I could for people who may be wondering like I was. That all being said, the yarn that I picked up today, it is 50% alpaca, 50% wool. It is the Barocco Ultra Alpaca. It was 219 yards, 200 meters. Okay, yeah, 50% superfine alpaca, 50% Peruvian wool. So you can see that there. And when I got there, I walked in and I was like, hey, do you guys have any red yarn in a worsted weight? Because I want to do this yarn pattern. And I had gone online the previous night and I was looking at like what they had in inventory because they do kind of show it. It's not super accurate, but I was looking and it was like, the red is out of this kind, the red is out of this kind, the red is out of this kind. And I was like, okay, I don't know what I'm going to be walking into tomorrow. But I got there and they were like, oh yeah, like so many people have been coming in to knit this. And they kind of directed me like, these are our only options. It was like 3 yarns and one of them was like one I did not like at all. And I got there maybe 20-25 minutes after it opened today. And they said, yeah, we did have a little bit of like the Cascade 220, I think, yarn in like a red. But somebody came in here like right when we opened and they actually bought it completely out to go make a bunch of hats. So I think it is definitely connecting with the knitters in Minnesota because they're having a hard time keeping their red yarn in stock, which is crazy, especially given that I have not been willing to even touch the color red since like 2016. So it's a pretty big deal. Pretty much all these yarn stores seem to have their red yarn out on display in a bucket, or it's just like genuinely getting totally sold out. You know, I don't know if this is having the same impact in other places, but in Minnesota we are so affected here that it is actually a really big deal. And we do have a lot of knitters here. It's a very cold climate, and I think we have a lot of like family and history that leads back to knitting. So this is what I have knit up so far, and you're gonna say that's so tiny, and it is really small. But again, I'm working with alpaca and it's gonna like relax quite a bit and it stretches a lot. I actually just wanted to throw a little bit of information out there. This is a worsted weight, and I think it said like however much to cast on for a worsted weight in the needle size that they said for that worsted weight. I did that and it was genuinely like this big. Like it was so big. So I actually sized down 2 sizes in my needle. This is a size 6. And I also still did the smallest suggested cast on stitch size. And it is like going to fit me very well with this size. So just keep that in mind. I do know I'm a pretty loose knitter, and this yarn is definitely going to relax quite a bit, but it seems like the yarn pattern, at least for me, is turning out to be a little bit too big. So just kind of pull it back, rein it in a little bit, and it may fit just slightly better. So I'll just kind of show you. This is going to be a double layer. Oh, I've got a hair clip in. I'm not taking it out. But like that's going to fit very nicely. My hair's crazy. But that's going to fit very nicely, I think. Looks a little silly. And I know what people are doing is they're just like leaving it that raw, or the cast on edge. I don't love that. I don't like when it's like loose and able to unfold. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just change this slightly so this gets folded up in here and knit together, so you have like a double layer beanie that's knit together. And then I'm just going to continue the pattern like normal, and I'm definitely not changing anything about how the hat decreases and then ends at the top. So I just wanted to give my little bit of feedback on that pattern. Go support your neighbors if you live in Minnesota. Go support your fellow Americans if you live elsewhere. Or if you don't live in the United States, still help support people who are genuinely being occupied right now. So I hope this helped you, and I hope to see all of your guys' knit hats, and I will see you later.